宝全世界，
我是郑弘仪。
嘿，和你做伙来开讲。
由代表来接受我们的访问哈，代表您好。
Good morning.
Good morning. 呀，好，这个尤代表他这个中文比较不熟悉，所以呢，他特别邀请了翻译来啊，为了要精准哈。那么我想这一次啊，这个很多人也怀疑，就是过去以色列啊，对于这个情报的掌握，对于这个防空系统的这个优秀，那么都深以为傲。可是呢，这一次被哈马斯攻击，那么冷不及防哈。我想先请教一下，就是说以色列有认为你们的情报跟空防有出什么问题吗？
Unfortunately not. When this terror attack happened on Saturday morning, this was totally unexpected by the Israeli side. More than that, about a week before, in regular coordination meetings with UN agencies and international workers working on the ground in Gaza, there was nothing mentioned, there was no warning for this coming.
在之前呢，其实这件事情是真的是没有想到会发生的。即使在前一周呢，我们也有跟在加萨的联合国的当地的机构跟一些国际工作人员一起，就是在讨论，在媒体在讨论的时候，也没有相关的讯息进来。
If you were to visit Gaza Strip only the week before, you could have seen open border passing, with many trucks and people coming between Gaza and Israel. More than 20,000 workers were coming to work in Israel to earn money. There were food and supplies that were coming through the border passing. All of this was stopped when Hamas attacked those border passing, closed them, and entered Israeli communities.
那如果你在前一周刚好去就是加萨走廊的话，你会发现就一切都是很正常的，那个边界也都是开放的，然后每天都会有大概有2万多人的来以色列这边工作，然后也有很多的就是包括车子啊，一些货车都来往，包括食物啦、饮水啊什么的，所以是一切都是相当的正常的。
What we are seeing now with this attack is a historical event. This is not another fight, another round of fighting between Israeli and Palestinians. This is a whole new level of war that is relevant not only for Israel, but is relevant for the whole world. If this terror attack happened in Israel, it could happen everywhere.
那这一次的战争其实跟过去以往的以巴的冲突其实等级是不一样的，它已经不是只是单纯以色列跟巴勒斯坦问题，它同时也是一个全世界的问题。
这个这一次以色列已经集结了包括后备部队36万个军队要歼灭哈马斯，为什么需要这么多的军队呢？
This attack happened within the borders of Israel. The state of Israel is the only Jewish country in the world. We were established after World War II and the Holocaust to make sure that Jews will be safe and will never face terror and attacks like before.
以色列它是在2战犹太大屠杀之后建国的，然后它也是唯一的犹太国家，所以对以色列来说，这是他们必须要保证，就是他们一定要生存下去，这是他们唯一的国家。
Saturday, October 7, was the first day since the Holocaust that so many Jews were murdered in one day. More than 1,300 people, mostly civilians. If this, for example, would have happened in Taiwan, the proportion in the population is like 3,000 Taiwanese people were murdered in one day. It's not another round of missiles shooting. This is a war for our survival as a country. This is a war to make sure that Israel will continue to live safely and that Jewish people will have a secure home.
所以这场战争对我们来说，不是只是飞弹攻击这样子这么简单，其实对我们来说就是一个生存的地方，就是让我们能够有一个安全的地方可以居住。
The mission that is standing in front of us is very big, is very demanding. We are going to make sure that Hamas terror organization is no longer existing. This will take time. It's not an easy one. We are willing to pay the price for that because we can no longer live in this type of danger.
所以这一次的任务很重要的就是我们不希望就是哈马斯这个恐怖组织继续存在。所以对我们来说呢，这是一个非常重要的一个任务，然后也一定要花很大的代价去完成它。
我的意思就是说，我看媒体就是说，哈马斯只有3万个部队，那么以色列发动36万，那是有需要这么大的军力吗？
Hamas has been controlling the Gaza Strip since 2007. They are controlling a population of 2 million people in Gaza, and they are using them as human shields.
哈马斯在2007年就开始就是掌控了加萨走廊。那加萨走廊现在有大概200多万人。那哈马斯呢，他会用加萨走廊的巴勒斯坦人来当做就是人力的这个防盾，用它来做防盾。
人肉盾牌。
对。
What does it mean, human shield? It means that Hamas has putting his military command centers near school, near mosques, the Islamic temples, near hospitals, within civilian neighborhoods. It is not a distinction between military command or hospital or civilian infrastructure. It's all combined there.
Underground?
Part of it is underground. It is, to our understanding, there is a whole city underground that is being buried in tunnels.
那哈马斯他们的军队的总部军队的单位，他们通常都会是坐落在像他们清真寺啊，然后在医院啊，或是在学校，甚至可能有一些是在他们的那些建筑物的地底下。
Urban fighting is a very complex one. It's very challenging. This is why we need to make sure that we have the capabilities and the manpower to do that. Again, it's not going to be a quick or an easy entry. We have civilians, the Palestinians, that we need to think about and to consider. But our target is Hamas. The target is not the Palestinian population. And Israel cares about the Palestinians more than Hamas ever cared for them.
所以开启这个战争其实是相当复杂跟相当的艰困的。对以色列来说，以色列政府更重视巴勒斯坦人，比哈马斯更重视巴勒斯坦人。
哈马斯就是2007年掌控加萨到现在。这个加萨大概有200多万人口，其实是蛮落后的，贫穷。那哈马斯有这样的武力，背后是谁在支持？
It's a good question. Hamas has built a whole network of finance and of supplies that are being smuggled through tunnels into it. All through the years, when Hamas was complaining that there was a blockade, we now see that not only there was not a blockade, but they had free flow of ammunition and of supplies that enabled them to build more than 6,000 rockets, which flew on Israel, and to have ammunition. And all of this was supported by Iran and other countries in the region like Libya and Syria. Lebanon and Syria.
那哈马斯呢，其实它有一个非常完整的一个就是一个网络，它那个网络就是让它可以走私一些像是武器啦、飞弹啦，然后是从像是伊朗啦、黎巴嫩啊、叙利亚这些地方去走私这些武器的。
When you look at the history of Hamas since 2007, there were several occasions when the international community, especially the European unions, the European countries, were coming to Hamas and suggesting to him, recognize Israel's right to exist and you will receive more aid, more welfare for you and for the Palestinian people. Time after time again, Hamas refused. He does not want any money, any welfare, any education, any medication, nothing for the Palestinian people. He just wants to dissolve Israel.
其实从2007年开始，其实陆续都有一些国际的国家、国际团体或国际国家，或是像 EU 的一些国家，他们去跟哈马斯他们有去谈，就是说，如果你承认以色列的存在的话，我会给你很多的，包括很多援助这一块，医疗援助很多援助。但是哈马斯呢，他一再的拒绝，所以从这里可以看得出来，他们并没有真的非常的在意巴勒斯坦人在生活的这一个情况。
This is not Israel-Palestine war. This is Israel-Hamas war. And there is a clear distinction between the two. Israel is having coordination with the Palestinian Authority in the West Bank, and we're willing to have discussions, but Hamas does not recognize anything, any right for Israel to exist.
这个战争其实是以色列跟哈马斯的战争，并不是以色列跟巴勒斯坦战争。那其实以色列我们在跟约旦河西岸这边的跟巴勒斯坦政府呢，其实一直都有很好的一个沟通。但是哈马斯这边呢，就是一直不肯承认以色列的存在。
OK， 可是就是这几天以色列的对加沙的轰炸，也造成很多平民的死亡啊。那么按照加沙的统计说，现在已经有2670个人死亡，9600个人受伤。那这个是不是也会导致平民的重大伤亡？
Yes, you're right. There are many casualties on both sides. There are also more than 150 people who are civilians kidnapped by Hamas and held there. There is also humanitarian status for them that we don't have any knowledge about their well-being at this point.
你说的没有错，真的是造成两边呢很大的伤亡。在以色列这边也有150多人被绑架被人质，那也有很多人到现在我们也不知道状况。
Hamas needs to feel the pressure from the Palestinian people and from the whole international community. He needs to know that these actions, the terror actions that he was conducting, are unacceptable. He needs to know that holding hostages is something that is a liability and not an asset. He can finish all of this when coming out or releasing all the kidnaps, especially women and children.
这件事情应该是哈马斯要承担更大的压力，不管是来自整个战争，或是巴勒斯坦那边的指责，或是来自国际团体的指责，哈马斯应该是要赶快的，就是释放以色列的人质，因为这里面有很多其实是妇女跟小孩。
I agree with you that fighting in urban area is very challenging. And civilians are there. This is why Israel is taking the most that it can do in order to give time and notice for civilians to leave the areas before bombing them.
那我同意你说的，在一个公开的一个地方去做这样子的战争，其实真的会伤害到平民百姓。所以以色列政府也尽他最大的力量，能够及早去通知巴勒斯坦的人民，能够尽快的离开那一个即将要去轰炸的地方。
We gave 24 hours notice to the area, the northern area of Gaza, for the people to be evacuated. You know how much time notice our civilians had before they were attacked? Zero. Zero. They were attacked inside their homes, some of them inside their beds. They were burnt alive, whole families. They were shooted to death. Zero notice. We are giving 24 hours notice for civilians to leave. And the ones that are blocking them from leaving is Hamas. They block the roads and they tell the people, you can't leave. They take the car keys in order to make it impossible for their civilians to leave.
那想想看，以色列他给了巴勒斯坦人民24小时的时间可以去离开，可是哈马斯在攻击以色列的人民的时候呢，其实根本没有给任何时间，有的就直接闯入他们的家里面，然后有的可能是正在睡觉，那甚至可能所有人都被绑架被带走。那是谁让巴勒斯坦人民无法离开的？是哈马斯，因为他把他们的可能车钥匙拿走，把路给挡住，让他们没有办法能够及时的离开。
You know, a lot of people are talking about the humanitarian situation of the people in Gaza, and it is true. But I want just to show, you know, this mother with 2 children. They are 9 months old. She's 32, Shir. He's 4 years old. They were kidnapped. We have children in cages. They took them inside of cages, specifically women and children. We have disabled people. What is their situation? Hamas is not answering, not even International Red Cross.
How old these children?
The children, the youngest one is 6 months that was taken, and we have children who are 5, 9, 4, dozens of children. We have people from 43 different countries. This is not only Israeli fighting the terror. 43 countries, they have civilians who are now being held or murdered by Hamas.
This one?
This one is 9 months old. He's 4, yes. We
4
have
years
here,
old?
yeah, exactly. This whole family was murdered. This mother and father were lying on their 16-year-old son to save him, so he will survive. He was under his mother's dead body, for 9 hours until they came to rescue him. She's 85 years old. She's in a wheelchair.
Okay.
All of these were either kidnapped or murdered by Hamas.
那因为很多人都会提到这一次的有关于人道的问题。那我们来看一下，就是在这一次在罹难的或是在被绑架的这些以色列，就是在以色列人被绑架的的图片里面可以看得到，就是其实你看很多都是小孩，有的最小才9个月而已。那有很多你看都是可能4岁、5岁、6岁，然后像刚刚这个正中间那个图片的人，一家人全部都已经是被杀害罹难了。那我们也有看到，不止小孩，也有老人家，甚至有些老人家呢是他们是坐在轮椅上的，但是他们也被绑架了。那有一些可能很幸存下来的呢，甚至可能都是因为他们的家人被杀害，然后他们是刚好被他家人的尸体刚好是遮住，所以他们可以幸存下来。那其实这不只是以色列人被绑架，其实在这一次被哈马斯杀害跟绑架的人里面，总共有来自43个国家的人，所以其实这已经不是以色列的问题，这是一个全世界的问题。
OK， 这个我看媒体写说，在加萨的地下，甚至于深达70公尺的隧道因为他们挖地道为了反抗以色列。那么这个而且他们说地道的长度长达500公里。好，那么也就是说这个攻击哈马斯应该是很不容易的事情。以色列派了36万人军队，这个有没有死伤的一个估计？
Yes, you're right. Hamas has built an underground city of tunnels that their command is stationed partly there.
你说的没错，在地底下的确是有他们有军事基地，然后他们的类似他们的军官什么都是躲在地底下的。
We will have a long fight with them. I don't have all the answer right now, and I'm not a military person to explain exactly what is going to be done. But what I do know is that the whole country, with the support of our friends, mainly, as we stated, by President Biden of the US, is standing behind Israel in this fight. It is clear that Hamas cannot continue to rule, and we will do whatever is necessary to make sure this will happen.
那因为我也不是国防军，所以我也没有办法说会有接下来会发生什么样的事情。那但是至少我们的就是最大的一个有帮美国拜登，他有特别的有提到，就是我们不能容许哈马斯再这样子下去。
可是拜登今天有说了哦，说他们挺以色列，好，但是呢，要给这些加萨的人有足够撤离的时间，其实24小时是不够的，连联合国都说这会是彻底的人道灾难，而且现在又断水、断电、断燃料、断粮食，那他们怎么生活呢？
I disagree with this statement.
Disagree?
I disagree. We are following closely about the food, water, energy, medicine supply within Gaza Strip. We are making sure that they will have more than the bare minimum as defined by UN agencies. I will not go into details on that because this is not the story. The story is what happened to Israeli people in their homes, to civilians in a planned massacre by these terrorists. This is not a fight for the freedom of Palestine. This is a terror attack on civilians, and this should be outrageous and unacceptable by everyone.
代表不同意，原因是因为其实以色列一直都跟联合国一直有合作，包括在提供巴勒斯坦人包括食物啦、水啦、医疗了所有的相关的用品。那这场战争看到的并不是巴勒斯坦独立与否这样子的问题，是以色列人他们在自己的领土上被杀害的这件事情。
I will also add, Israel does not control Gaza Strip since 2007. We are not there for more than 20 years. Hamas is the responsible one. Hamas can make this different if he will release all hostages and he will step aside. This is at the ends of Hamas, not the Israeli.
那以色列并没有就是控制加萨走廊，就长达20年，他并没有在控制它，是哈马斯控制它的。只要哈马斯让人质回来，一切就会结束。
你讲的就是这是以色列跟哈马斯的战争，不是以色列跟巴勒斯坦人的战争。可是巴勒斯坦人的撤退时间是不够的，这是美国也讲，联合国也讲。那么，而且这些无辜的人，他们的水电、燃料、粮食都被断掉，他们又无法撤退，这个他们应该怎么办呢？
They have food.
Food?
They have food.
Yeah.
They have water. Do you know from where they have water? Because Israel only provided, even before, less than 10% of the water supply in Gaza Strip. All the rest was coming from desalination within Gaza Strip. So they can continue with that. They were having wells where they have water coming from the ground. They can have that. Who said that they don't have water and food? Who has the interest to say that? This is not true.
他们是有水有食物的，以色列在当地其实是有留下海水淡化相关的一些设备在那边，所以他们是可以利用这些设备，是有水可以喝的。
OK， 可是今天美国总统拜登他支持以色列，派了2艘的航空母舰群、战斗群在那边护卫以色列。可是他也说以色列别再占领加萨。
We have the intention to dismantle Hamas. We do not wish to return to Gaza. We left Gaza in 2005. When we left Gaza, we had several Israeli communities there with beautiful villages, with industries, with agriculture. Hamas, instead of taking that and building on economic prosperity of the Palestinian people, ruined everything. He murdered other opponents and he installed an extreme Islamic regime there.
其实在我们并没有想要去 拿走加沙。其实，在2005年之前，以色列在那里其实是把那里建设的非常好的，在那里不管是在农业设备啊，还有一些相关的经济设备，都把它建设很好。是哈马斯把那个地方的所有的设备给破坏掉的。
Israel does not want to control no one. What we want is to live in security and in safety in the only Jewish country in the world. We have nowhere else to go.
以色列并不想要去占领加萨，我们只想要在我们自己的土地上，然后能够和平生存的在那个土地上，因为犹太人没有其他地方可以去了。
We already showed in the past that we're willing to pay very heavy prices for peace. We returned land to Egypt in order to have peace agreement with them. During the last 3 years, we had Abraham Accords, a very positive trend in the Middle East with more peace agreements. We are willing to have negotiations and do that, but not with Hamas, who is calling for the destruction of Israel.
那以色列愿意为了和平付出很大的代价，在以前我们甚至就是归还埃及土地。那过去这3年，我们跟中东的其他国家签订和平的协议，所以以色列是真的一直的努力的在致力于就是和平共存。那是哈马斯一直想要把以色列给灭绝。
可是这个国际新闻说以色列不断的向加萨屯垦。那么让巴勒斯坦人的土地越限缩越小，生存空间越来越小，所以才会有拜登总统说别再占领加沙。
What we are seeing, and this is again another story. The Israeli-Palestinian story is a complex one, and the West Bank, we can discuss that, of course. There are Israelis who live in those territories. This has been an ongoing discussion. We are willing to discuss that. We had several offers for land for peace agreement, but this is not the case we're talking right now. We are talking about a terrorist act against civilians. 1,300 people
那拜登
murdered.
总统怎么会说别再占领加沙呢？
We are not planning to occupy Gaza. We are planning to dismantle Hamas.
Okay.
There is a difference, okay? But perhaps if we will have more support from our friends, from like-minded countries, the free world, that democracy is important to him, that human rights are important for him, they will make the right choice for humanity, that this should never happen again. You don't have to be Israeli. You don't have to be a Jew. You only have to be human in order to understand that what was happening on Saturday is unacceptable.
刚刚主持人提到的，就有关于屯垦的这一块，那是在约旦河西岸的，那是另外一个议题。那很多人在过去历史上，他们也都住在那块土地。那以色列其实也都有很多方案可以跟他们在谈这一块部分。那今天我们来谈的这一次是跟哈马斯是在加萨的这一块的部分。那对以色列来说，他们并不想要去就是所谓的占领巴勒斯坦。我们从头到尾就是针对的就是哈马斯。那这个
我懂，就是针对哈马斯的恐怖主义，我们不同意啊。我的意思是说，会不会它里面有错综复杂的根源，就是说对加萨走廊的压迫或者是占领，要不然拜登怎么会这样讲呢？
The support of the U.S. president is unwavering, and his speech was a very meaningful one, and also the actions that followed it. There is a clear support by the U.S.
对我们来说是拜登对我们是真的是支持以色列的，这是一个很清楚的讯息。
I will say again that there is one target for our war against Hamas, and that is to dismantle them, like was previously done with ISIS. This is exactly the same ideology. This is exactly the same method of brutality and violence. Maybe I will bring it back to you. If you had more than 3,000 Taiwanese civilians being murdered more than 4,000 people being wounded, some of them in critical condition, more than 150 citizens, children and women being kidnapped and hostage. What do you do?
你这样讲，就是说，这个我们没有要去讲什么，我是说，这是拜登亲口讲的，就是以色列他维护以色列，但是他请以色列不要再占领加萨。以一个世界上最强权、最支持以色列的人讲这句话，难道以色列不讨论吗？
I'm the Israeli representative. I can speak on Israel's behalf, saying our missions are to dismantle Hamas. We are not having a mission right now to occupy Gaza.
OK，
对，就是我们并不知道拜登为什么这样说，但是身为一个驻台的以色列代表，我只能够强调，就是我们并没有要去占领加萨，我们只是要去就是不要让哈马斯继续下去。
了解呀，美国的支持以色列，我们看到他这个有非常实际的行动，就是他派了福特号的航母战斗群，然后也派了艾森豪号这个战斗群部署在以色列的周边，这样的用意是什么？
Israel and also others in the region and the United States have no wish to have this war extended more than just Israel-Hamas war.
最重要，不管是以色列或是美国或是周边国家，都不希望以色列跟哈马斯的战争扩大成一个区域战争。
I will actually try to quote President Biden in his speech, saying to all those countries and entities in the region who think that they can take advantage of the opportunity, he was warning them by saying, don't do that.
代表就是quote，就是之前拜登有提到，在他的演讲中有提到，任何在那个区域的国家或是相关的团体，不要趁这次机会去做一些事情，他警告他们。
And in order to support his statement, he was sending the Navy to show the presence in the area. So we definitely feel the good support of the United States.
对，也不要想要去就是支持这些哈马斯这些人，所以他特别的就是把他的军队、他的那个航空母舰是不是派到这边来，就是这样。
不过好像伊朗有说他们要介入。
I was just about to say that and agree that on the contrary, we are seeing Iranians talking, meeting with the leaders of Hamas and of Hezbollah in having discussions, and we see already the start from the northern side from Hezbollah, and this is something that we are not interested at, but if we will be forced to go into that, they will pay a heavy price.
我们其实就像刚刚提到，就是伊朗这边已经开始跟哈马斯还有真主党一些领袖都已经开始就是在有一些会谈。那我们是现在目前是没有要处理这块，但是一旦要做的话，我们要付出很大的代价。
Do you know how small Israel is?
你知道以色列有多小吗？
台湾的2/3大。
2/3, but I will say we are less than 10 million people.
大约不到1000万人。
Less than 10 million.
900多万嘛。
Yeah, very small. Okay, very small country. We don't have any strategic depth. We don't have anything when they're attacking us. This is going directly into our cities and into our civilian population. We have to be concerned about this.
我们没有任何一些屏障，所以一旦有攻击，都是直接就是对我们直接攻击我们的人民了，所以我们必须要考虑到这个问题。
有以色列国籍的巴勒斯坦人有多少？
About 1.5 million to 2 million people are Israeli Palestinians.
大概有150万到200万人是以巴勒斯坦裔的以色列人。
好，这个其实也会牵涉到台湾啊，就说台湾也有中国来的移民啊，以色列会对他们的对国家的忠诚有疑问吗？
It is an ongoing concern about the Israeli Palestinians and their sense of belonging to Israel or to Palestine. For example, there is a very well-known global Palestinian blogger, a YouTuber named Nas Daily, who just came with an announcement saying, I'm an Israeli Palestinian, but now I am first Israeli and then I'm a Palestinian.
的确，这是一直都是有一个认同的问题，包括巴勒斯坦他们是怎么样，到底是认同自己是以色列人或是巴勒斯坦人？但是代表提到一个例子，就是一个非常有名的 YouTuber 叫做 Nas， 他是巴勒斯坦裔的以色列人，现在他就公开表示，就是说他是先是以色列人，才是巴勒斯坦人。
I think that he was expressing things that many feel right now, and that is with this tragic happening in Israel, it's the understanding of what type of life, what ideology they would like to live under. Israel is a free, liberal, democratic country. And what Hamas is offering right now is an extreme ideology of Islam. And I think that now it is very clear to them this is not how they would like to live.
所以从这个就是部落格克他的一个发言可以知道，就是说他们到底真正想要的是什么样的生活。那以色列是一个自由民主的国家。那反观哈马斯是在这样子一个高压统治的，就是伊斯兰的这样子的暴力统治之下，所以他们当然是选择了是像在以色列这样的生活。
Now, we are not perfect. We are a democracy. Each democracy is different. We were having a lot of discussions in Israel about how our democracy should look like, and we always need to improve and to make sure that we safeguard minorities in Israel. But at the end, the bottom line is that it's a liberal country. There is a freedom of speech. There is a freedom of expression, and people can express themselves, and this is what is important also for the Israeli Palestinians.
所以以色列我们并不是非常完美的国家，当然我们的民主制度也有一些的问题，那我们也尽量的去保护就是少数民族。但同样的，就是在以色列的巴勒斯坦人，他是也有机会去就是发言去说话，因为它是一个民主国家，是可以容许你有不同的意见。
他们的政治权利有被限缩吗？
Palestinian Israelis are allowed to vote. They have political parties in the government, in the Knesset, our parliament, so they are part of our society. There is still much more we need to do and improve, for sure, but they are part of our society.
他们也有投票权，他们有自己的政党，在国会也有席次。当然，我们会尽力的去让他们有就是改善更多的问题，但是绝对他们在政治上是有权利的。
跟犹太人一样的政治权利吗？
Palestinians, yes.
Okay.
Israeli Palestinians.
Yeah.
There are Palestinians that are not Israeli citizens. This is another thing, but they are under the rule of the Palestinian Authority.
OK， 那在这一次这么重大的事件里面，你怎么看中国并没有谴责哈马斯？
We have been in direct contact with China since the event started on Saturday, and we see they will call it a neutral position, and we will call it our disappointment from their reaction.
其实在上周六，我们有在事件发生的时候，我们也有跟中国这边也有联系。那他们的表示就是说，他们持中立的立场。那对我们来说呢，我们是对于这样子的回答是相当的感到失望。
为什么对于一个恐怖的攻击，他们要保持中立？
Well, I'm not a Chinese diplomat. I can only give my assessment to that. They have their own interest, of course, mainly are also economic and energy. And it is perhaps part of what we're seeing between the global superpower struggle between the US and China.
所以因为代表并不是中国政府，所以不能帮他回答。他只能想说，可能就是有一些经济人员的一些concern，就是一些考虑，然后还有包含就是国际政治的角力。
这次 这个哈马斯的攻击，我们看到以色列的团结，这个很多以色列人纷纷回国准备作战。那么你们的爱国情操是怎么培养的？
This is a national trauma. Our bodies, the people who got wounded, will heal, but I think that our soul of the Israeli and the Jewish people has been traumatized.
这个要追溯到就是以色列人跟犹太人他们过去在经历过非常大的一个受苦难的一个经历。
It brought back very sad and horrifying memories of the Holocaust, when people were murdered just because they were Jews. It doesn't matter if you are a good person, if you are a peace lover, what did you do in life? You were murdered just because you were a Jew.
这可以追溯到就是犹太就是二战时期那犹太大屠杀的那一段时间，他们可能只是因为他是犹太人。他们就被屠杀，但并不是他是好人坏人，或是他是什么样的人，只是因为他是犹太人。
And Israelis, whoever they are, wherever they are in the world, they feel that now to their depth. It's not only Israelis that feel that. We feel unsafe now. Also Jews all around the world feel unsafe now. And this is why they're rushing back to come home and to join this fight. This is really a fight to make sure that Israel will continue to survive.
不只是以色列人，连在全世界的犹太人都有同样的感受，就是他们感到真的非不安全，有不安全感。这就是为什么他们想要赶快的，就是参加就是这场战争。
以色列的兵役制度可以做一个简单的介绍吗？听说你们是男女皆兵，然后你们的这个当兵的役期有多长？是怎么训练的？
So military service in Israel is obligatory. It means that all people 18 years old, after graduating from high school, join the military. The men join for at least 3 years, and the women for at least 2 years.
以色列兵役制度是义务性的，所以他们18岁的时候，男女都要去当兵，男生是要当3年，女生当2年。
We consider the military to be what we call a melting pot. Melting pot means that you come in small units from people from all sides of the country to work together, and then you are training together in specific roles for a long period of time.
我们把我们的兵役制度当兵这件事情当作好像是一个大熔炉，那来自各地的人，然后在一起共同的接受训练。
The values that we are educated at the military is no one is left alone, no one is left behind, and it's one for all and all for one, which means that there is a strong dedication and obligation to each other.
我们在军队的价值观被教育的价值观就是不会有人被落下，然后我为别人，别人也为我。
And this is what we're seeing now on the reserve forces, on the 360,000 people who rejoined the military. They're coming as their original units from the time of their military service. Because during the years, they keep on training together and meet each other again and again. So they're very much obligated and committed to each other.
就算是你已经就是退役之后，他们在以色列还是会继续的，就是定期的就会训练他们。所以你看这一次，这些人就也很快的就能够被呼召就回来了。
对，就后备军人。
后备军人。
OK， 那你也当过2年兵了。
I had more than 2 years. I was an officer at the Israeli Navy.
Navy? OK， 那你的训练的内容可以跟大家介绍吗？Why?
First, I was serving when I was 18 until I was 20.
High school?
Yeah, 21, exactly. So for most of my adult life, I'm no longer at the military. I do not serve at the reserve, and I'm a civilian. And this is important to understand, because sometimes I hear on the fake news blaming people that you're not a civilian, you serve the military. but this is obligatory, and for most of us, for a very short time of our life.
因为我48岁，大概可能就是在20出头那边的时候才是就是当兵的时间。其实大部分现在我都只是一般的平民百姓。那我们常常看到有一些错误的讯息，说以色列每一个人都是军人。其实大部分的人，他们可能真正在军队就是那2年3年，其实大部分都是平民。
那你我看照片是说，以色列的女兵平常也都背枪出去吗？
Definitely. We carry the gun and we are enrolled in most of the positions within the Israeli military and air force. So according to the different positions, people, women also, may serve longer than the 2 years.
就是女性也是会持枪，也是带着枪的，没有问题。那女性也是在以色列的军队里面也是担任不同的职务。那根据她的职务，可能甚至比2年还要长。
那你背枪出去的时候，里面有子弹吗？
Yes, I carry bullets and the gun when I'm in the military service.
OK.
Yes.
那像美国是拥枪国家。所以他们有些人不高兴就会乱开枪，为什么以色列没有？
It's very clear for us why do we carry guns in Israel. It's not against each other. It's the violence in our society is really not targeting insiders, each one. It's really for the protection and for our security.
对他们来说呢，就是持枪是一个保护的工作，是对内，是要保护他们里面的人，所以他们不会会想要用枪去伤害其他人。
OK， 我当然我没有去过以色列，没有去过巴勒斯坦，我只是看这个资讯说加沙有难民营，然后难民营你进去过没？
I visited Gaza when in 2007, 2005, just before we evacuated it. Yes, before Israel left Gaza.
代表去过加萨，但是那是在以色列还没离开加萨，就是大概2005年左右。对，那个时候去过。
那时候有难民营。
It's not considered refugee camps, but it's Gaza City and Khan Younis and the other villages, the Palestinian villages.
那个时候就是加萨的一些很多城市啊，然后村庄啊，并没有就是所谓的什么难民营这样子。
现在有难民。
So we consider that as shelters, civilian shelters, and there are more than 100 shelters recognized by the UN, and more that are by internationals. And there is a close coordination with the Israeli military to make sure that these shelters are on their maps and they are not being targeted. This is what we're doing on a daily basis to make sure to not harm or to minimize the harm to civilians.
我们应该说我们不会把它称作难民，这是应该算是 shelter， 就是有点像暂时的居住的地方。然后这些地方呢，就是有联合国有在里面，然后在那我们的在以色列军方也都有这些地方的这些就暂时居住地的地图上都有 mark 这些地方，所以我们也不会让这些地方受到伤害。
This is the difference between a country that obeys international humanitarian law and try not to target civilians but to minimize the harm versus Hamas terror organization that targeted specifically civilians.
所以就是身为一个就是民主国家，就是我们非常重视就是人道问题，所以我们会尽可能的减低伤害，尽可能不要去伤害人民，这跟哈马斯是不一样的。
我是从新闻上看到说那些人在墙壁上写满了对以色列的仇恨，因为仇恨这个很难去讲什么了啦。那我的意思是说，这样的仇恨，历史仇恨，看起来好像没有办法化解。
It is a very complex conflict which goes for many years. It's true. But specifically now for this war, not the whole conflict, there is a solution, and that is a united front against Hamas, and Hamas being disassembled and take off. Hamas can finish this very easily. He can release all the people hostages. He can step down.
的确，就像主持人说了，这是非常多年来的就是以巴的问题很难解决，但是这一次的战争就是局限就是哈马斯的问题，那就是应该是就是全世界一起合作，然后去就是阻止哈马斯继续下去，然后让叫哈马斯就是赶快的就释放人质。
那这个事件你觉得对台湾的影响跟启示是什么？
The first thing I think is really for us to understand that if this happened in Israel, this could happen everywhere in the world, and it is scary, and it is it's a deep sense of unsafety.
这个真的是很难去想象发生在以色列，就是会在其他国家发生。这个真的就是一个非常就是让人家觉得非常害怕，也这种感觉真的很不安的一个事件。
I think it also shows and strengthen the values, the shared values that we are having between like-minded countries, democracies, countries that respect human rights. You know, this is really about basic humanity.
这是关乎就是基本的人权的问题在对。
And the last thing I think I will say is really about the strength of the people. This is really about the reaction of people. And Israelis were shocked, and we are in deep pain. We have not yet finished to bury all of the dead. It takes time. A lot of them are not recognized yet because they were severely burned. So it will take time. But out of this pain comes a lot of resilience and a lot of unity.
那其实即使到现在，以色列还没有从这件事情反应过来，还是有很多人都还在沉浸在痛苦当中，那还有很多遗体都还没有就是下葬。对，
这个台湾人一年去以色列旅行有多少？
So in normal days, the tourism, I will say before COVID. So before COVID, we had thousands. Okay, of people traveling. Then COVID came. We have not yet recovered.
Okay.
So we only had a few hundreds before.
在COVID 之前呢，大概有好几千人了，然后但是现在大概几百人。
台湾人其实对以色列很有兴趣啊，因为觉得是一个值得尊敬的国家，很强大的国家，虽然人口很少。但是如果台湾人去以色列，你希望台湾人看以色列的什么？
Israel is a beautiful country.
Sure.
Really beautiful. We have a very rich history background. Jerusalem is the holiest city for both Jewish, Christian, and Muslims. It is a beautiful, special city to visit. And we have the Dead Sea, which is the lowest place on earth, and it has a unique, not only good for the health, but also a very beautiful desert scenery.
以色列是真的是一个非常漂亮的一个非常美丽的一个国家，那它有丰富的历史。如果你去耶路撒冷，耶路撒冷是三大宗教的一个中心，就是犹太教、基督教跟穆斯林。那你也可以去死海，死海它不止就是世界上最低的地方，那它同时还有就是很多用死海泥有健康的因素在里面。那当然以色列还有很漂亮的就是沙漠的景观。
The Israeli people are very happy, open, and friendly people. We are very welcoming, and we have a good hospitality for foreigners. And our food is excellent.
Okay.
那以色列人其实他们是会非常欢迎，就是外国人到他们国家，他们是非常快乐，然后非常就是开放的一个民族。那在以色列，你还有很多美食可以吃。
And we have very strong entrepreneurs and innovation startups. We are very good in technology, in science. So we are very much open to explain what do we do good about creating an ecosystem that allows that between education, development, and innovation.
那以色列有非常棒的新创科技这一块，尤其他们以色列很愿意跟大家分享在新创科技还有教育这一块如何组合成一个很生态圈，然后如何彼此互相的连结。
OK。 这个节目的最后我简单再介绍一下补充以色列是在1948年建国，那么经历过埃及、黎巴嫩、叙利亚、约旦4次大规模的战争。在1973年有一个叫赎罪日战争那这些战争起先是对以色列不利，后来都打赢了。在1956年有苏伊士运河战争，1967年有6日战争那小型战争也有几十次，所以我想以战争经验来讲，以色列军队可能是世界上最丰富的。那它现在也是10大武器的出口国这么小的国家，在2021年它有113亿美金的出口。台湾很熟悉的乌兹冲锋枪肩射反坦克飞弹、战车、铁穹防空系统、无人机、幼狮战斗机，其实都是以色列发明的。OK， 那么所以呢，我想最后一个问题请教代表，就是台湾跟以色列现在发展的最好的双边关系是什么？有什么东西你正在要极力加强的？
Taiwan has been the fourth destination for Israeli exports in Asia, even more than Japan. It is a very important trade relations to Israel.
Okay. 台湾是以色列第4大，比日本还要大的非常重要的一个经贸的往来的国家。
We are excellent in water, and we understand that there is a water shortage in Taiwan. We have many expertise and technologies to advance and to share with you.
那以色列在水资源这一块非常的强。那我们知道台湾一直都有水缺乏的问题，所以我们很希望能够在这一块能够更多的彼此的交流。
We have unique abilities in agriculture that we are willing to share. We have very advanced fintech industries. We have a lot of high-tech sector that is very strong, and with more than 400 international companies investing in Israel, one of the big ones. So we're very much into advancing investment and trade.
那以色列在不管是在那个资讯安全或是在农业科技这一块都很有经验。那在以色列有超过400个就研发中心，从世界各国能够都到以色列去设研发中心。那我们也希望在这一块呢，能够跟台湾有更多的交流。
Israel and Taiwan have 30 years of friendship relationship between them, and there's a lot more that we can do. I personally only arrived here 2 months ago with big dreams and plans of what to do and advanced. There are many friends here in Taiwan, and I'm sure that we will continue to do that in happier days.
OK，
以色列跟台湾其实有超过30年的友谊了，所以代表也才刚来2个月，所以其实他有很大的梦想，想要扩大双边的关系，然后做更多的事情。
这样的代表有任期吗？
5 years.
Oh, good. You can do much.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah, today, welcome you come here.
谢谢。
Yeah, 谢谢。OK， 我们希望以色列一切平安。
Definitely. I wish that we will not return to this cycle of violence again.
Yeah. 好，那因为今天时间的关系我们访问的是以色列驻台北经济文化办事处的代表尤玛雅尤代表也感谢蔡家芳小姐担任翻译也感谢大家的收听，谢谢你，谢谢大家收听，再见，拜拜。